Hi, this is Tim Von Rieden with cgcookie.com, and in this video tutorial, I'm going through a quick and easy way to draw snow in Photoshop. I will take you through creating a couple snow brushes, and then use them to create the foundation for a basic winter scene. I will also include the brushes in the direct download link below. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so in Photoshop, I'm going to create a new document. I'm just going to name it Snow, and I'm going to put it at a 5 by 5 inch document set at a 300 resolution. I'm going to choose OK, and to full screen it, I'm just going to go ahead and press F, and there we go. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and start to create my snow brush that I'm going to use in the scene. So I'm going to use one of the standard ones that are given, which is one of the soft edge brushes, and on a new layer, I'm going to lay down 5 dots that will represent the 5 snowflakes in our brush. So now I'm laying these down, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not laying it down in the same direction. So I'm trying to have them kind of facing different directions, and I'm trying to make it look as irregular as possible. So once I have my 5 dots set down, from here I would go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and I would save it as Snow. Choose OK. And you can see how the brush, it changed into those 5 dots. But now if I lay it down, you can see how it's very patterny. So if I turn off that layer and create a new layer, if I just go straight across, you see how they align in a perfect line. And we want to break that up and make it feel more natural. So from here, I can go into my brush presets or into my brush settings, and I can go into each of these and I can change them. So the first one we're going to change is other dynamics. So we're going to check that box off, and what that will do is the harder I push down, the harder it'll appear, but then as the softer I do it, it'll come at a very low opacity. And the next thing we're going to do to break up the lining that's happening is turn on my scattering. So if you just check it, it'll still kind of have a pattern that it's following. So to kind of break it up, if you go into the scattering options, turn your scattering as far up as you want. I would recommend somewhere in the middle, and then in brush tip shape, turn the spacing down. And what this will do is there will be less spacing in between, so that means that there will be more dots the more you lay it down. So you can see if I lay it down now how many more dots there are. But then if I turn my spacing really far up, you can see how it barely lays down the brush at all. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back down. And now from here, I'm going to go ahead and save this brush out, the one that has all of our settings on it. So if I choose this little down arrow next to the brush, you can see the ones that I did earlier. But from here, we're going to choose the Postit Note, and we're going to name it Snow 01. So now, if I go back to the old brush and I try using it, it'll give me the same effect that it was doing before. But now when I choose the new brush that we just saved out, it has it with all the new settings saved on it with it. Okay, so then there's one more brush that we're going to make, and this is going to be for the snow that's more close to the viewer, so it's going to be a little more fuzzy looking because it's going to be less out of focus than the snow that we originally made, which is going to be more crisp looking. So to do this, I'm just going to blur it out, and the simplest way to do that is go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to zoom out so we can actually see this in the sampler. So the higher you turn these pixels up, the higher it'll blur it out. We don't want it looking too fuzzy. We still want it to retain somewhat of a snowflake shape. So I'm going to turn it up to about there. I'm going to choose OK. Just like before, I'm going to go ahead and define this brush preset. Just leave that as snow for now. And you can see if I lay it out, it's doing the same thing like before. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn on the exact same settings that I had before. And might space this one out just a little bit more, somewhere around there. So now I'm going to Post-it Note it, which will save it. snow 02. There we go. So now we have the two snow brushes that we will use to create in our scene. So now if this gets a little overcrowded, one thing you can do really quick is go to your preset manager by choosing this triangle in the upper right corner. And from there, you can select which brushes you don't want anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and choose those two that were the originals. And I'm going to choose delete. Done. And now when I go back in there, our two brushes are there, standalone, and they're ready to use. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and lay down a paint bucket and just do a fill color for the background. I'm going to do a dark blue. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and test out my new snow brushes. So first I'm going to use the more defined looking one, and I'm going to choose white to be my snow. And I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. So now when I'm doing this, I'm going to start off with it being very small, and I'm almost working the snowflakes in the distance more. And this is easier to build up because they're so light, because I'm barely pressing down on the tablet, because I'm seeing these as very far away. So they might be small, and since they're more in the distance, you'll see less color to it, less of that white. So I'm going to go a little larger, and the larger I put my size at, I'm going to push down a little harder on the tablet. And that'll make it appear as if the snowflakes are closer. So as I get closer, I'm definitely pushing down a lot harder. And you can see how the scattering takes place a lot more. So once I'm at a good spot, I'm going to go ahead and grab the second brush that we made. I'm going to lay it down right on top. And you can see how they are laid down a lot more sparse than the other brush. And that's because we have the scattering set much lower, or the spacing. So if you want it to more to be laid down, just turn this bar down. But if you want less to appear, turn that bar back up. So then once we have our snow pretty much in place, so now I'm going to go ahead and lay down a solid foundation for the snow to fall upon. So using my soft edge brush, I'm going to turn the hardness a little up. And I'm just going to lay it down. Oop, but make sure I'm on my brush, not my eraser. So then from here, I can go ahead and create kind of a fog effect to it, which might give it more of a windswept feeling to the wind, and it'll make it feel a little bit more frigid. So if there's a light out, it's almost like the snow is bouncing this white light back up, and that's why it's given this effect. So lastly, I'm just going to do just two gradients in the background to help the sky give it less of a solid blue feeling in the background. So on a new layer, I'm going to change it to multiply. I'm going to grab my gradient tool. I'm just going to color pick using Option on a Mac, and I'm just going to pick that up, and from just going to pick a point above the picture, and I'm going to go about midway down, holding shift and let go. And it really filled in that darker blackish almost color. And then secondly, on another new layer, I'm going to grab a lighter blue color, and I'm going to gradient this one up. But that might be a little too intense, so to change that, just lower the opacity. Or if you wanted it to not come as high, all you do is you grab the move tool and you literally just move it up or down. So I'm going to move mine down to about there. So there we go. This is just the basis of drawing snow in a winter scene. I hope you learned something, and I'll drop off the brushes like I said before in the download link below. And thanks for watching.